Greetings and welcome one and all to another episode of What Makes Spoon Rage and Rage and Disappointment, featuring a combination of two of the most dreadful things to occupy the space of God's green earth, women and TikTok. God save me, I'm going to need a drink already.
Welcome, America, to the next stop of the White Christian Nationalist Tour.
That sounds pretty damn based, actually. Our way, true to Jesus. Best empires of our species were built on that. But I'm pretty damn sure this rosy-cheeked bint won't ever acknowledge any of that. She is far too busy getting owned by her own lack of self-awareness, kindly aided by that cross she's sporting around her little neck.
The Supreme Court Justice just deemed affirmative action unconstitutional.
It's just the Supreme Court. There's more than just one justice. Not that I would expect a coherent point about the complexities of constitutionalism from someone who is using every ounce of her energy to not launch at the camera like a feral cat taking a live wire to its bollocks.
And made you idiots on the right.
Can I just say, this one has the darkest, most soulless set of eyes I've ever seen on any human being aside from my own. And I can't help but think of a certain movie scene.
The eyes, Chico. They never lie.
I think it's about fairness and merit.
Yes, actually it is. It is rather fair to say, regardless of your skin color, if you have the skills to merit an entry into an elite institution, you should be afforded an opportunity to do so. Why is this controversial?
The same fairness and merit that got C student Jared Kushner into Harvard because his daddy pledged $2.5 million to the school.
Ah, yes, and now we go from affirmative action, race-based, to a class issue. The typical leftist and or feminist tactic, pivot and talk about something utterly unrelated to the topic at hand, just to tick off the checklist of things I have to fucking rage about because I'm a mindless cultist. Are we surprised? No, of course not. You know, someone should really take this bint to the side, after you gaffer tape her face and zip tie her hands, and politely explain to her no one gives a flying toss about Jared Kushner or his family's wealth. It has nothing to do with affirmative action. As a matter of fact, I think if you were to do a survey about how many people don't like the rich money dumps and affirmative action, you will probably find there's a lot of overlap between those two.
A wealth he acquired by being a white-collar criminal.
Unlike the current family occupying the administration who've never set foot in the private sector in their entire lives except through the power of having someone in the public sector and thus mysteriously somehow accruing multiple millions of dollars, a 100% legitimate, above-board, uncorrupted source of income, I am so very sure. Why, they totally aren't a bunch of perverted drug addicts who snuck cocaine into the White House just recently. But of course, they aren't Republicans and therefore they can do no wrong.
That fairness and merit. The same fairness and merit that makes colleges like Harvard University admit legacy students at a rate of 33%. That means if your rich mommy or daddy or grandpappy went to the school, you get in too. Fairness and merit.
Yes, it's almost like certain families value this thing called education and hard work and pass these traits down to their offspring. Back when they actually valued the concept of a legacy. To go back to a time before society decided the sexual revolution was a great idea and proceeded to fling their seed around like the garden hose which is cranked open by the hands of Thor.
And to all the white women, conservative white women out there, the loyal sidekick to this kind of bullshit.
I do believe Queen Victoria and I would like to have a bit of a word.
This affects you too, because you know who benefited the most from affirmative action? White women.
And there it is, the lecturing little lech who's now going to scold and demean you because in her precious world of bubble-headedness and no independent thought whatsoever, she thinks that everyone who opposes her ideals are the problem. Why? Because she is a self-centered white woman, barely, a beneficiary of affirmative action, and therefore she's upset. You want to know why I deperson ones like these and speak to them as if they're not really even human? Let me try to explain this. Picture this one as a character in a movie or television show, right? Given that we're creatures who think, we work via pattern recognition and all of that, the first sentence out of this one's mouth, this one.
Welcome, America, to the next stop of the White Christian Nationalist Tour.
Let's be honest here for a moment, shall we? From just that one sentence, in the current day and age, you can probably guess, with a fairly high degree of accuracy I would say, over 90% of what this character thinks, can't you? I mean, even her point of view here that women are the beneficiaries of affirmative action, will she be pointing to any evidence to back any of that up? Any evidence as to how or why this is beneficial to society at large? No, not at all. I can't fathom the patheticness of such an empty existence. She's not saying anything interesting, anything thought-provoking, anything against the grain, or anything of a dissenting nature at all. She's just a pleb, a lemming, a talking billboard parroting the slogans of the mainstream. So spare me this idealistic nonsense of, ooh, I'm a person with my own thoughts and feelings. What I see here is strong evidence to the contrary. Give me a reason why I should treat this creature as an individual when all she does is act as a signal repeater for the regime.
But you guys vote against your own interests all the time. What the fuck do you care?
Case in point, the arrogance and frankly naivety to think that all women on the basis of their skin color want the same thing, and anyone who doesn't agree with bimbo bug eyes over here is instantly against their own interest. My lord, with dim-witted takes like these becoming mainstream, it's no wonder I have a chip on my shoulder.
I'm really starting to think
Pressing extra doubt on that one, but it's the first time for everything, I suppose.
that the boots of these rich people must taste like green bean casserole, because you poor Republicans love to lick them.
Even though Democrats now take more money from the wealthy than do the Republicans. But you're an XX parroting the mainstream like a bleeding sheep, so please forgive me for debunking you with facts and diminishing the credibility of your moonlighting billboard gig, love.
They tap into your racism.
Keep in mind as well, she said this after the affirmative action ruling, and the amount of low expectation style of racism from the left was jaw-droppingly jarring. So either this ditzy gimp is up her own arse oblivious, or she's full of shit. Actually, on second thought, those two go hand in hand.
They don't tell you that the majority of the student body at these Ivy League schools already consist of students who come from the top 1%.
Yes, it's almost like we have no problem with top academic scoring people getting into a school regardless of their socioeconomic background. But I have noticed you liberal white women have melties the moment you present any evidence of especially black people that have the intellectual prowess to compete without the use of affirmative action. It's almost like you're all horribly racist, thinking without the benevolent white vagina, no one who doesn't look like you can ever achieve or amount to anything. That is a level of racism even I won't stoop to.
No, why would they tell you the truth?
Because cretins like you turn into glass-shattering banshees the moment you get told people aren't equal.
They just tell you that poor black and minority C students are taking the spots of smart A+ white students. And you believe them.
Well, let me just be clear. I got into Harvard only because of affirmative action.
Yes, I do. Because unlike you with your soulless glare, bitty cleavage, and inability to formulate a coherent opinion that does not conform lock stock with the regime, I can think and read.
Back in 2016, when Donald Trump became president, I called all of this.
I will take words no one believes for 500.
And I was told time and time again I was over-exaggerating. What's the harm of letting a reality TV star buffoon be president of the United States?
Do you think she is going to give even a single quantifiable example as to what makes him a bad president exactly? Of course not. What do you think this is, a conversation with wit, wisdom, and depth? There's no men here, only something that belongs in the kitchen. And a woman.
The buffoon who surrounded himself with right-wing extremists.
Holy shit, even though we have heard nothing but a plethora of empty platitudes and bullshittery from you, if there was one sentence that we can point to show you have no fucking idea what you are talking about when it comes to politics, that would be the winner. That one right there. Because the problem is, he in fact didn't do that.
When I was worried about things like Roe v. Wade being overturned.
Of course that was your primary concern. Is anyone remotely surprised that that was your highest priority? These cretins are the avatars for why women shouldn't be allowed to vote. This isn't a left or right thing either, mind you. Not liberal or conservative position, any of that kind of stuff. No, this is raw civilization theory. Voting is supposed to be a power, and with power comes great responsibility. And these idiots are so preoccupied with their own selfishness that they actually vote with their genitals, screaming, "I don't care if the country is wasting billions on pointless wars, boondoggles, racking up debt, importing a destructive foreign horde, killing the economy, just please preserve my capacity to keep being a cheap slut." What kind of a society would allow its citizenry the power and responsibility of selecting its own statesmen, only to find out a large proportion of them do so purely on the basis of maintaining the capability of being as sexually irresponsible as possible? Here's a challenge for you. I want someone to present me a coherent case for that without using the words equality and sexism.
You guys laughed and said, no way. It's a precedent. A precedent. The same thing those Supreme Court justices said it was right before they overturned it. What's next? What more things do we have to roll back on?
The best came from MSNBC's Twitter account.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, again, I can't get about how they decided to go full racism with the day. They went with, if John Roberts and Clarence Thomas believed that no further action was needed to undo damage of 400 years of slavery and Jim Crow, then they can just as easily justify rolling back protections for women, the disabled, and others.
I'm listening, MSNBC.
So am I, and with bated breath, my friend.
I mean, they've already convinced you that the entire LGBTQIA plus community are a bunch of groomers.
That's funny. I didn't need conservative media figures to come to that conclusion. All I had to do was watch them and see the copious amounts of perverted crime and disproportionate statistics, not to mention their disturbing interest of trying to teach single-digit age children unholy grotesque practices that in any other time or place would get you, how can I say this politely, deleted.
What else are they going to deem unconstitutional? So I'm going to give you conservative white women a little heads up.
Dear conservative white women, or just conservative women in general, actually. No, we don't discriminate. If you want to layeth or smacketh down on these things, we will forgive the discretion of it being not very ladylike to do so. We're a lot more forgiving than these ones will lead you to believe.
The world that these rich, white, privileged men have in mind.
Yeah, you can smile all you want, honey, but your envious hatred of anyone that's better than you is dripping all over my suit, and I demand you clean it now.
Doesn't include you either. You're not going to thrive.
Anyone remember yesterday's video of the badass black lady Sarah Breedlove who was able to become a self-made millionaire in the 1800s? Yeah, if that can happen over a century ago, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say this one is being kinda hyperbolic. She's just batshit fucking insane.
You're not going to benefit. You will be nothing but a talking incubator.
Replace your delusional take of baby maker with regime propagandist and explain to me how you are any different.
Whose only purpose in life is to serve those white, privileged men.
Explain to me your job if you work for any corporation.
But hey, if you're into that sort of thing, keep voting red.
Sweet zombie Jesus. Let me just play one last clip to show you just how very sane and educated this one really is. You ready? Watch this.
Thank you. What a beautiful compliment. For real. What a nice way of saying, hey Stella, you're really smart. What a nice way of saying you care about your health, Stella, and the health of other people. What a nice way of saying, wow, Stella, you weren't stupid enough to get medical advice from politicians or your plumber or your hairdresser or your crazy aunt on Facebook. You were smart enough to listen to an entire global medical community of doctors and experts. Thank you. I needed that kind of praise today. So nice of you.
And once again, I apologize for nothing but you, dear God. You need to apologize for everything.